Welcome to All Things Knights, the podcast for passionate Newcastle Knights fans. Join Foundation members Mowie and Trace as they bring you the latest team news, game reviews, player performances, club history, and everything happening in the world of the Knights. So sit back, settle in, and join us for another episode where we bring you the sugar, the spice, and everything Knights. This is All Things Knights.
Hello and welcome to episode 5 of the podcast. And we'll start with the massive news that the Knights will play finals in 2026, which is a monumental achievement given we got the wooden spoon last year. Last week's win against the Titans assures us of finishing in the 8 with a chance of a possible top 4 finish. I'm Greg Mowbray and alongside me is fellow passionate Knights fan and Foundation member Paul Tracy. And Trace, how does it feel to know that we're playing finals in 2026, mate?
We win, we win, we win. I won't continue. Fantastic. We're not done yet. Strap yourself in for a great ride. No doubts about that.
For sure. Hey, mate, more big news. We've got a brand new segment where we interview a special guest. And the very first cab off the rank is from the inner sanctum of the Knights. It's Chris James, the Director of Football. And Trace, that's a bit of a coup for us to get someone so senior and so close to the beating heart of the Knights.
Yeah, and what a great bloke he is too, just quietly. And it was an absolute privilege to have access to Chris. He's a big fan of the podcast, by the way, which is a wrap in itself. And even more importantly, he shares my passion for red wine, so he must be a good bloke.
He's a good man, yep. So, Trace, our audience continues to grow. We've got more and more listeners, and the reach is also expanding across Australia and the world. But, mate, you'll be sad to hear that Slovenia has dropped off.
What? I don't believe that.
We've had no listeners from Slovenia this week, but somehow we'll survive, mate. So here is an overview to today's episode. We're going to analyse and review the Titans game. We're going to play that special guest interview with Chris James, the Director of Football. We're going to preview Saturday's home game against Manly, the
Old boys game.
You're going to give us an update on the NRLW. We're going to reflect on the season so far. And, Trace, we've got a new sponsor, but I'm going to keep that one up my sleeve. Yep.
Wow.
Yep, I'm going to keep that one up my sleeve for a little while. So let's talk about that win against the Titans. Mate, the only stat that matters is the final score, and that was 36-26. We got away to a very fast start, 16-0.
It could have been 26-30.
Mate, I was thinking this could be anything.
Yep.
There were some real highlights with fantastic attacking flair, but there were also some lowlights, mate, and we're going to unpack that. Too many mistakes and letting in soft tries. If I can just cover a few team stats to begin with, we had 48% possession.
Well, that's because of drop ball, wasn't it?
It was. 79% completion rate. There were 9 uncompleted sets, right?
Yeah.
So 79 sounds pretty impressive. But if we're going to be a threat, mate, we need to be...
Mid-80s.
Mid-80s, yep.
Yep.
The Titans were better than us in the number of runs, the number of run metres, the average set distance, kick return metres, and offloads. So, Trace, 2 weeks in a row, this week against the Titans, last week against Canberra, they were better than us across the board on stats, but somehow we walk away with the win.
Says something about the team.
Some individual stats, yep. Phoenix, a game high 41. He was massive.
And he was off the last 10 minutes.
KP, 240 run metres. Greg Marzu, 192 run metres. Fletcher Sharp, 178 run metres. And a special mention to Toby Winter, who made his debut. Mate, he just turned 19 a couple of weeks ago, I think 2 weeks ago.
Incredible.
Played 40 minutes, 69 run metres, 12 tackles, including a try saver. Some very good touches, and, mate, he oozes class.
Oh, yeah, he can play.
Trace, what about some other key points from the Titans game?
I just thought we attacked with great purpose. They were always looking to run the ball. And something I've said the last couple of weeks. Every time Kalen touches the ball, it's panic stations. We were very, very physical. We want that. Our young blokes really stood up, and particularly the running on the edges and the tackling on the edges. They made life very difficult for the Titans in so many areas. Each young guy we had some really important moments, but the two that stood out for me was a Cody Hopgood tackle on Jaden Campbell,
yep.
which he just folded him.
Yep.
Absolutely folded him. And then a one-on-one that Toby Winter did on AJ Brimson.
Yep.
Brimson's a state of origin player. And this guy's playing the first 10 minutes in first grade, one-on-one tackle that had to be made. He did it. It was fantastic. We've got a lot to like.
Cody continues to impress me. I think we've said this every single game he's played. There's incremental improvement. He hits the line really hard. He's got an offload in him. And as you said, his defence is excellent. Trace, who's your sugar going to?
I'm going to say this one, Fletcher Hunt. After last week when he copped a bit of a bath from Semi Sagazi, obviously he's worked really hard on his defensive positioning. And this week his positioning on Jojo Fafita, again, a State of Origin player, was so good. Yep, right at the death, let one in. But when we need him, he's shut him down. And with the ball, fantastic. With the high ball, no one was near him. So he was my number one. But I also want to mention, just as a collective, Cody and Lockie and Jermaine and Frank and Trey, they are weapons. And they're all young. They're all babies. And we're doing some remarkable things. And again, I'm sure you'll mention it, but Toby, great to have your first grade debut and to play so well and to get a full 40 minutes. You know what it's like now, mate.
All those young forwards that you mentioned, they are clearly NRL standard already in their careers, and they're only going to get better, right? My sugar, Fletcher Sharp, 178 run metres, 2 tries. Mate, that try that he scored, he ran 60 metres, he beat 6 players.
He is just outstanding.
You know who it looked like?
Tell me.
Brett Kenny. Parramatta player from the 80s and 90s.
Absolutely.
Have a look at him next time. He actually looks like him, but he plays like him.
One of the things I love about him is he understands space. Some people, think they do, but he gets space and he runs to space and can create space. He's just got this in him.
And like Brett Kenny back in those days, people were second guessing what he was going to do. And you can see the opposition doing that on Fletcher.
Yeah, and he's a lot stronger than you think.
Yep. I've got to say Greg Marzu, 192 run metres and 2 tries. The first 3 kickoffs from the Titans, the ball was caught by Fletcher Sharp. Yeah. First hit up was Trey Mooney off the back fence. Yeah. Second hit up, Greg Marzu. And that happened 3 times. So he's just rolling his sleeves up and saying, give me work, give me work.
There was also an important one in the second half when they did a kick through taken by Kalen. First play was to Greg. He made 15 metres. Off that, Fletcher Sharp makes the break and scores the try.
Yep.
That gattered some of the defenders.
Yep. I've got to mention Gags, 2 tries in 40 minutes.
Yeah, he was good.
But as you said, Trey, Jermaine, Cody, big metres. They refuse to be intimidated by Tino and big Mo Fodawaker.
I'm surprised how easily they handled them. Yeah. They are big humans.
But we did that against Canberra.
Yeah, agreed.
Fletcher Hunt, you mentioned him. I was really impressed. Jojo Fafita is a big body, mate, and he's an Origin player. And I reckon Justin Holbrook probably did some defensive work with Fletcher Hunt this week.
I think Brett White.
Yeah, you're right.
But interesting, I heard Kevin Walters say something on Monday morning about Jojo Fafita. He was a national schools sprint champion, but he couldn't catch Fletcher Sharp. So this guy is fast.
Yes.
And he couldn't catch Fletcher Sharp.
So Fletcher Hunt, he just continues to get better and better. Trace, your spice.
It's a bit controversial, and you might be against it. But the spice is me. And you might think, why? Well, for the last 2 years, I've been banging on about how pedestrian our attack is. Now, when our attack is so good to watch, I'm complaining we are making mistakes. Last year, we scored 5 tries from our own half. This year, we have now scored 40. Obviously, when you're shifting the ball like that, there's risk involved. I'm going to sit back and enjoy it now. And I was watching the faces of the people around me in the stand on Sunday. They're loving that. They're not thinking about the odd mistake here and there that I'm looking at when we make breaks, like Kayla made one silly pass and Dom did another silly one. They're just loving the fact we're having a dig. So Paul from now on is going to be happy about our attack.
To be fair, I think you should be giving yourself an uppercut first. Ready? Yeah, there he goes.
Got that.
Good on you. Mate, my spice, I'm going to be a bit harder than you, right? We showed a lack of composure at times. Scoring long-range tries is great, but at times I reckon you've got to earn the right to attack. Now, there needs to be a balance between last year and previous years where we didn't back ourselves. And it was almost like we weren't allowed.
Yeah. Well, I'm not going to say that. But...
No, but you know what I mean.
Yeah.
This year, we're doing it. As you said, we've scored more long-range tries than anyone in the competition. I guess I'd like to find a bit of a balance.
Well, I think my balance for that is, if you're going to do that, you've got to be prepared to defend your errors and defend them for your life.
Well, that's my next bit of spice. Too many mistakes that the consequences went undefended.
Yeah.
And what I mean by that is, case in point, the Raiders, they scored in the next set off each and every one of 4 handling errors.
By Kalen,
right?
unfortunately.
I wasn't going to mention his name, but you did. This week against the Titans scored off 3 errors in the very next set. Now, it is ridiculous for us mugs to sit here and say a team should be mistake-free and they should be perfect,
happen.
right?
Yeah.
But I don't think it's outrageous to say someone on that field, there needs to be a voice in that field when a mistake is made, and I don't know if it's happening or not, but I'd like to think it is. Boys, let's defend this set.
Yep.
Let's tighten things up. Let's hold our heads up.
Yep.
Let's make up for that mistake by defending, but it's happening too often. 7 times in the last 2 games,
Yep.
and we have let teams that we were better than back into the game.
Well, there was no way that the Titans are even in the same stratosphere as us.
Yep.
But, however, at halftime we go in 16-10, and it could have been 16-14 straight after halftime, only for a little bit of luck.
Correct.
Yep.
My other bit of spice is that we went to sleep and allowed soft tries. We can do that against weaker opposition, but if we're fair dinkum, we have to be better against quality opposition.
We know, and having watched a game on Thursday night, I'm not mentioning the teams, but both those teams played to the 84th minute whenever it finished, full on. We just cannot afford to go to sleep.
I know I'm sounding like I'm bashing people now, but Sandon's kicking game was patchy, and maybe I am looking for perfection, but it was probably only a 7 out of 10, and I think we need a 9 out of 10.
At best. Fortunately, too, Jaden Campbell kicked out in the full twice. That helped us.
We earned penalties coming out of our own end, and they just kept letting us back in the game.
Yeah,
and
they
those
did.
2 kicks out on the full.
Because every team's got errors in them. What we've got, a lot of teams haven't got, we've got an amazing attacking unit.
Yeah.
It really is special.
For the second week in a row, Trace, we've gone, how good is it that we played below our best and we've still banked those points?
Yeah. And particularly this week, the game was over well before full time. Yeah.
Sure. Now, Trace, I'm excited about this. We've added a new segment in the podcast where we have a chat with a special guest. And to kick us off, we have the Newcastle Knights Director of Football, Chris James. We spoke to him a little earlier, and I started by saying to him, welcome to the podcast.
Hello, boys. Thanks for having me.
So, Chris, let's start off with, who's Chris James outside of footy?
Outside of footy, so I'm a dad, wife Nicole, 2 boys that are now in school up here in Newcastle.
Where do they go to school?
So my eldest is in year 11 at Trinity,
Yep.
Mitchell, and Benji's in year 4 at St Teresa's at New Lantern. But we're loving our time here in Newcastle. It's been great since we moved.
Excellent. Knights Director of Football sounds like a big gig. What are your responsibilities?
Yeah, they're big shoes to fill. So I took over from Peter Parr on the 1st of November as Director of Football, and when he moved up to become the CEO. So it's pretty much all of football. We've got Justin that runs the NRL team, Ben Jeffries in NRLW, Peter O'Sullivan managing recruitment, and then we've got a large medical team and a large sort of wellbeing and education team. So they sit under me and some really good people in all those positions. So I'm very fortunate. But big shoes to fill, trying to take over from Pari, who's been doing it for 25 years. Obviously, Pari had a lot of success at the Cowboys, so he was really clear on what an elite club needed to look like. And then I've done 7 years at the Sydney Roosters, so I think that's probably the reason that he reached out to bring me here, was because I think we're both very clear on what an elite club should look like and how you get sustained success. I hope some of that is starting to be seen in what we do, whether it's in pathways or through to the top teams as well.
Sure.
So Mowie's been saying a lot of nice things about you here, but I mean, there is a dark secret, Chris.
Yeah.
You were a referee.
I was, yeah.
And I've never been one to bag referees, but I know other people have. Tell us about your refereeing career.
Yeah, so I used to love playing footy as a kid. Came from a rugby league family, but it got to a point that I realised I was way too short to ever make first grade, and went down the path of refereeing to stay involved. And was fortunate enough to get to the NRL. Spent 11 years refereeing in the NRL, which was great. I really enjoyed it. I was an okay ref, but I probably, never...
There's no such thing. Sorry.
Yeah, fair. I never reached the heights in refereeing that I probably set out to. So that's probably now why I'm so driven in this role. I was very lucky to be able to go from refereeing into clubland. Not many get to do that.
I'm sure you know this stat
Yeah.
that we only won 34% of games that you refereed us, but I'm sure you're aware of that.
I think that probably coincided with the win rate of the Knights at the time as well. Not a reflection on me.
All right. But 228 games, Chris, that is a fair career.
Yeah, it was great. I loved it. Yeah, that was our full-time job. During that time, I refereed a lot the great Melbourne team of that era. The great Roosters and Souths, the times they'd come together. There was that era where the Broncos and Cowboys, all those great games. So I got to be involved in them, which was great, right? And I love rugby league.
So, 228 games. Can you remember any controversial issues?
Plenty.
One in-
So I remember there was a game here at McDonald Jones Stadium one night, and I awarded a try. It might have been Bedsy or someone. A dummy half went over and scored, and I confidently pointed to the spot. And back in those days, once you awarded it, the video ref couldn't check it. And I remember looking up at the big screen, and he dropped it from about a metre off the ground. And I thought, geez, this is not going to be good. It was a big Friday night. It was packed. And then the next week, I remember I was refereeing reserve grade at Fenton Park. But then there's that other one. It's actually been quite topical this week, the infamous incident with Tyson Frizzell. The NRL went on a bit of a crackdown at the time about don't touch referees. Tyson, if you've ever met me, you'll understand I'm not very tall, so I'm easy to miss on the footy field. And Tyson bumped into me one night, and I didn't even know it happened. He had no awareness at all. And then they ended up charging him. He ended up getting a week. So the joke in here this week is when we celebrated his 300, it should have been a week earlier.
So, Chris, I actually saw the incident on YouTube when we were doing some research, knowing that we were going to talk to you.
Yeah.
And you said he bumped into you. I think he brushed you.
He likes to describe it as a loving embrace, I think. It certainly wasn't aggressive.
Is there any ongoing push and shove at training between you and Frizz? Because I reckon
he's actually one of the good men for his. I didn't know him that well before I came here. I refereed him a lot.
Yeah.
But now being here, he's an incredible man and leader. It's been a privilege to get to know him.
The fact you gave that try to Betsy shows you were always destined to be a
I think
Newcastle
so.
Knight, mate.
Yeah. I think secretly I always wanted the Knights to go all right.
Chris, tell us how you landed the job up here. Was it through the association with Justin Holbrook?
No, so I was up here at the start of last year. It was Christmas 2024. Peter, by that stage, had sort of been... him and Philip were working together on a succession plan where Peter would become the Knight CEO and Phil Gardner would step away as just the group CEO. And Pari was looking for someone to come up on a succession plan to take his job. And looking back on it, when I went from refereeing to working at the Roosters, Pari was someone that I'd ring for advice as a bit of a mentor. Because I hadn't worked in clubland before, right? And Pari was doing it for such a long time. So we built up a great relationship where I would use him as a mentor and I would reach out to him. And yeah, it was 2024, he reached out to me about considering coming up here and eventually taking over his job. So then I was fortunate enough then that we formed the committee at the end of last year that did the head coach interviews. Obviously, I'd worked with Justin for 2 years at the Roosters, so I knew exactly what we were going to get. I knew what the club needed. We needed to have a bit of a change and a bit of a refresh, and I knew Justin was going to be able to bring us everything that we needed in a head coach, and I think he's proven more than anyone expected. He's been incredible. It's a happy place to be. And there was a lot of pain last year. We got the wooden spoon. Obviously, Adam departed, and then we went on a big process of making significant change throughout the club and making sure we brought the right people in to support Justin, some changes in pathways, just to try and have a bit of a cultural reset where we were. And I think you can see now there's a lot of happy people around.
You mentioned before that you and the family are enjoying Newcastle.
Yeah.
When you're away from footy, how do you spend your time? What are your interests and your family's interests?
I must say the last 18 months, I've hardly had a day off.
Yep.
I'm so driven to turn this club into a premiership success. I haven't had a lot of time off, but I am a red wine connoisseur.
Hey,
So-
I knew we'd get on.
So I have spent a little bit of time out in the Hunter Valley and making sure that I keeping the economy going out in
Exactly.
the Hunter Valley.
Someone has to do it.
Someone's got to do it,
You're
right?
a good man.
So that has been a bit of a passion for mine, and that's been my escape when I haven't been thinking about the Knights 24/7.
So, Chris, last week, an important win against the Titans. How did you see it?
Yeah, it was great. That secures a semi-final place for us now. We're not happy just to make the semis, though.
Yeah.
You know, we're going to go after top 4, but at least now I can look around and go, yep, we're in semi-finals. Most people wrote us off at the start of the year. No one expected us to do what we're doing. So I just looked around the other afternoon and thought, this is for all the fans that had to endure the last few years and what they had to enjoy.
Mowie and I did not miss one game during the 3 wooden spoons.
And we've been very focused this year on, this is more than just a footy club, it's about the town, what this club means to everyone. And so I was happy for the fans. I was like, yeah, we're in semi-finals, but we're not finished.
Chris, final question, and I know it's a tough one, and it's without notice. Myself and several of my family were passionate Knights fans, despite the fact that none of us have any tattoos. We've all committed to getting a Knights tattoo if we win a premiership in our lifetime. I just want to know from you, the director of football, when should I book in?
This year. This year.
Good on you, mate.
2nd of October?
I'm telling you, we are set up to win a premiership here. And why not this year? Like, we have got the team there that can compete with anyone on their day.
Chris, it's been great having you on All Things Knights, and all the best of luck for the rest of the season.
Thanks, boys.
Well, Trace, what did you think of Chris and what he and the team are doing at the Knights?
Well, I thought he was great. He was just so natural and he was so easy to talk to, but clearly they are creating and demanding a success culture. They're comfortable with a risk and reward mindset, and it's a bit of a sky's the limit philosophy. And if you're going to be successful, you need that thought process from the top of the shelf right down to the bottom. And that's what we've got with Chris, I think.
I was impressed too. One of the things that I was most impressed with, he said on a couple of occasions, he said Pari, given his experience with a number of NRL teams, and Chris, given that he spent 7 years at the Roosters, he said we both know what an elite setup looks like.
Yep.
And that's what we're aiming at here. And that just gave me great hope.
Oh,
for
it gave
the
me.
future.
I felt so good when we walked away from it. Yeah.
So, Trace, we've got another sponsor on board, and it relates directly to the question I just asked Chris James and about...
It wasn't about red wine, was it? No.
It wasn't. About the Knights tattoo that we're all getting this year. So I'm pleased to announce that the official tattoo studio of the All Things Knights podcast is the 2012 Tattoo Company in Broadmeadow. Trace, they're a family-owned company. They've been around for nearly 20 years. They're big fans of the Knights and they're big fans of this podcast, which is fantastic. So if you're one of us who's committing to getting a Knights tattoo when we win this year, all you got to do is mention the podcast to the good people at the 2012 Tattoo Company and you'll get a special deal. Now, Trace, where are you getting yours? And I don't mean Broadmeadow.
Behind the left knee, I think.
Okay. Hey, Trace, can you give us an update on our other great sponsors?
Yeah, well, I want to thank again Christy Allen from Christy Allen Digital Marketing. You know, it's a funny thing to say, but size doesn't matter to Christy. She will improve the profile and marketability of your company no matter how big or how small. So go to Google Christy Allen Digital Marketing, and you'll help your own company.
And, of course, Sunrise Fitness. They're great people. We've been members there for years, Trace. Sunrise are in Brunker Road at Adamstown. Hendo and the girls, great people, great programs, great equipment. And make sure you tell Hendo that Mowie and Trace sent you.
You know, they were at the game last Sunday,
They
Steve and the staff, and the photos they sent me, they're having a great time.
They were a bit dusty Monday morning. Hey, Trace, give us an update on the ladies, the NRLW Knights.
Well, this is disappointing for me, particularly in light of what I said last week about how sure I was about the finals, because I was at the game. They started really clunkily anyway in attack, but got to a lead and should have led by a lot more at half-time, and that came back to bite them because in the second half, 2 sin bins. Not one, but 2 sin bins. And in that time, the Raiders scored 3 tries. Now, the sin bin on Sydney Allen, who is a gun player.
There's the hip drop.
I don't know what she could have done. It was a normal tackle, and yet we lose her for 10 minutes. Absolutely vital. However, I thought they were down on performance, and that came when Ben spoke to the media after the game. He also was disappointed. He also mentioned that the Tasha Gale team is undefeated, and a lot of girls there are pushing for promotion to the NRL team. And I noticed in the side today that Lily White is already back in. Lillian White's back in, so he is prepared to make changes. They've got a really important game this Saturday against the Tigers, who are coming fourth, but it will be in front of our home crowd. It will be big again on Saturday, Old Boys Day. So looking forward to it. But come on, girls, it's time to shine.
Hey, Trace, just before we move off NRLW, I met a young girl in Canberra last week, Analyse. Her and her friends were in the same corporate facility that I was in. They were all wearing the Raiders Indigenous jerseys. We got talking after the game and she told me that she was privileged to design the Raiders Indigenous jersey, and I told her we'd give her a shout out. So good on you, Annalise.
It was a lovely jersey, really, really inspiring jersey.
Yeah, it was. So Trace, let's move our focus now to Saturday. the home game against Manly. We're currently on 6th on 32 points. Manly are 10th on 24 and can't make the semis. So much for Fosball. But Trace, they're still going to be dangerous. They were held scoreless by the Dolphins last week, and that would have hurt them. Tommy Turbo's back. Ben Turbo's back.
I know.
They've got speed to burn with Saab, Kula and Hopewadi. We know that they've got strong forwards with Olakwadu and Jakey. They've got skill to burn with Joey Walsh and Jamal Foley.
Joey Walsh is out.
Is he?
It's a late call. He's out.
Well, that makes me feel a little bit better, but they're still going to be tough. What do we got to do to bank the points?
Well, it's being a bit repetitive, but we've just got to continue to challenge the defensive line of teams. We've got such speed and power that we can challenge every team, and particularly when you've got Kalen on one side, Fletcher Sharp on the other. No defence is sure what either's going to do. I don't think they're sure what they're going to do at times, but it's so hard to defend. So we need to keep that. We've got to limit the space to Olakawatu. He is an absolute weapon, and we've just got to make sure that when he's getting the ball, it's coming out of his own end. So Sandon and Kalen, we've got to get those kicks right down there and deep for the weekend.
So there's big news about the Knights team for Saturday.
I'm worried already. But Brady is back. Bradman Best is back. But Francis and Dane Gagai are both out. So that makes a difference. I'm comfortable that Fletcher Hunt will do another great job. And I know that Frizz coming in for Francis will be fantastic. But just that big body is a loss for us. But we need him right for the semi-finals. And it's great to have ourselves in a position where we can have some players out and not have to worry about not making the finals.
Yep. The pressure will be off to an extent.
But we need to win this game, mate. No bones about it.
As Chris James has said, and as Justin Holbrook has said this week, we haven't given up on the dream of top four.
That's right.
After Manly this week, we've got the Warriors away, which will be tough. Then we've got a bye, so we should go into the semis wherever we finish fit. We could possibly finish on as high as 38 points.
What did we get last season? 16, was it?
Can't remember. But Trace, we've got to rely on Cronulla getting a few losses and the Dolphins getting a few losses, and I think the Cowboys getting a few losses. But you know what? If the planets align, top four would be sensational.
Home semi is what I'm really banking on.
Yeah.
That's what I'm hoping for.
Yeah.
And I know that people I was talking to in the crowd on Sunday, that's what they're all hoping for. They're all so excited about where we've come.
Trace, we're adding new things and different things to the podcast. This week, we've had a listener send in a question. Let's have a listen.
Hey, Mowie and Trace. It's your number one listener, Ben from Hillsborough. Firstly, I just wanted to say how impressed I've been with the depth that we've seen from the boys this year, especially with all the season-ending injuries that we've seen. Normally, it would be a write-off for the rest of the season. And a question for you boys is, assuming that everybody's at 100% health, who have you got starting at 11 and 12 come round one next year? Thanks. Keep up the good work.
Well, Ben, what a question. Well done. Look, from my point of view, I'd have to say Dylan Lucas is locked in. Now, let's assume that his injury heals as expected and he gets through the pre-season fit and ready to go. And as far as the other spot goes, you know what? I'd let Jermaine McEwen and Francis tough it out against each other and earn the spot. How good would that be, Trace?
Oh, it's fantastic. And you've got to keep in mind, you've probably got Matty Craker in that mix. How about having four players like that for two spots? We've got an abundance of talent. Dylan Lucas obviously deserves his spot, and the other two are just their guns.
Yep.
So, mate, Peter O'Sullivan should just be so pleased with what he's brought to the club, and particularly he's brought players in who are performing.
Yep.
And that says something about him. He's just picked the right type of people for our club.
Good on you, Ben. Great question. So, Trace, that's episode 5 done and dusted. The excitement is continuing to build. You can feel that at the games. You can feel that at the pubs, before the games.
Everywhere you go, people are talking about it.
Yep. So, listeners, keep your comments, feedback and questions coming through. As I always say, if you're enjoying the podcast, make sure you tell your friends. And if you're not, mind your own business. And Trace?
Go you mighty Knights.
Well, there you have it. Two self-confessed experts, gibberers, on all things Knights. Nice one, boys. Join Mowie and Trace next week for another episode of All Things Knights.